0146, your SMS line at Metropol TVKE across all your social media platforms. This is your official sector trends this morning. Now, despite COVID-19, Kenya's cement consumption increased by 11% in the first 8 months of the year 2020, according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Now, the cement sector has a large economic impact due to its long and diverse supply chain, which largely contributes to the country's market value. Now, today, we focus on the cement industry performance and the impact on construction during the pandemic and the possibility of a sustainable business in cement production amidst the pandemic. Now, to take us through, we're joined by Kanye Gitonga, who is the sales director, Bamburi Cement Limited. Mr. Gitonga, how are you doing, sir?
Very well, thank you.
Fantastic. We're happy that you're around. Good. Just before we cross over to Mr. Gitonga this morning, let's take a look at that data that we have for you this morning in terms of that cement industry trends within the country. You can actually see that even as we were within the coronavirus pandemic period, they can actually see that even when we're talking about production and consumption, we don't have much of a disparity really when it came to that data as well. Let's cross over to what has been the consumption by itself. You can actually see that all the way to October, November, then you can see that, well, generally, all the way from January all the way to November, we've been seeing that increasing trend, albeit some little drops in some other months like there in March, April, May, June, but we've been seeing that it's been up, down, but not so much really in terms of a disparity in performance and consumption. Fantastic. Mr. Gitonga, somebody's going to look at that data just before we talk about other trends as well and ask you, wow, the COVID-19 pandemic shook different sectors and the industry within the economy. And the real estate was the one that was really exposed to the effects of the coronavirus pandemic, where people would say, hold on, keep that money, don't construct yet.
Yes.
Why do we have that sort of performance?
Largely, I would say, if you look at it from our perspective, is maybe two things.
Yes.
The first, you'll notice that government is really accelerating construction of big projects. So the expressway, Thwake Dam is under construction, Thiba Dam is under construction. So a lot of big, huge projects, Lamu Port, that are contributing to the increased demand in terms of cement. The second thing also is when the COVID pandemic was, kind of hit the country.
Yes.
What you'll notice is that the March, April, you see a bit of a depressed demand. And then from that point on, you see a lot of Kenyans beginning to construct their own homes.
I see.
Right? So in the industry, 80% or 85% of all the volume is retail volume. So that means basically you and I buying cement for one or two things, whether it's repairing the veranda at home or it's putting up my own, bed sitter for rentals, things like this. So that's where most of the cement consumption actually goes.
Yes.
So when you pair these two things together, you begin to realize that what we see in terms of the statistics is not actually out of the norm. It's what we've sort of anticipated. It's what we've seen from the market, and we can say that the Kenyan market is actually very resilient. And it's been positive for us through the pandemic.
Yes.
In many ways.
How would you really also address the quarters of the conversation that say, well, if you go really what happened during the COVID-19 pandemic, that what really stood out was only the bigger projects that were supported by the county governments and probably the national government. When it comes to the real estate sector, where we have individuals within the economy who are supposed to go for this cement, but they didn't really go for it.
So you'll see two things.
Yes.
Within the sector itself,
yes,
you'll notice that there's what we'd call commercial sales, people who are putting up office buildings and things like this. So that we did see a bit of a depressed demand.
Yes, yes.
The larger contractors who are probably more in the private sector were not as active as they were in prior years. But when you talk about retail is completely different. So as I said, there's a big distinction between the common mwananchi trying to build for themselves and the big guys trying to do big real estate projects, and then the government also trying to do big infrastructural projects. So what we saw is a commercial private sort of taking a dip, but retail for the home builder, that's doing really well. The big government projects, that's doing well. And that's really the distinction if you were to look at it in three probably segments.
Yes. So let's talk about exactly where the economy is really inclined toward when it comes to development. We've been seeing a lot of mega projects that this government, all the way from 2013 up to where we are right now, that have been undertaking. Would you say then we'll continue to see this trend, because we don't expect that these projects are going to end anytime soon?
No, I think that the trend will continue.
Yes.
You look at sort of the projects that have actually started in 2020 and 2021, earlier this year.
Yes.
You'll notice that they are in their infancy. They're well funded, and we expect these projects to carry on beyond this year, maybe because they're 3-year projects. And next year is an election year, so you'd expect the new administration will want to also put in their own flavor in terms of how they move the economy forward. So I don't see big projects ending anytime soon.
Yes.
No.
You paint a really good picture, especially when it comes to the performance of this specific industry, and especially when we're talking about cement consumption within the country. But people will tell you, wow, some of your players are not doing really well. Would you say that this is down to those specific companies as opposed to what the economy and the industry really is demanding?
It's a bit of both. You know, when you see the sort of consumption going up,
yes,
right? And maybe, I don't know, if you compare the price of cement today as it was maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago. So cement is probably the one product, the one commodity where the prices have been coming down year on year.
Yes.
Right? And today it's actually cheaper than salt per kilo, by the way.
Wow. Yes. Interesting.
A kilo of cement is about 10 shillings or 9 shillings.
Yes.
Salt is probably 31 shillings per kilo.
Yes.
So you can see the disparity between the two. Now, so it's really down to the financials of each competitor, if I can put it that way. Because the market is there, the market is growing.
Yes.
Per capita consumption of cement is still very, very low compared to the general world average. We're probably somewhere around 115 kilos per capita.
Yes.
Whereas the world average is around 500. So you can see there's huge room for growth in terms of where we are today and where our potential actually lies.
Yes.
So the market will continue being competitive, which is a great thing for you and I as individual home builders, because you can get what you want at the right price. But it also puts a lot of pressure on the manufacturers to basically give the consumer what they're asking for.
Pretty much, which actually leads me to the next conversation: sustainable business within your industry. Where are we when it comes to the whole term of sustainable business?
So probably at Bamburi, how we look at sustainability is through a number of lenses. So you look at it from an environment perspective. What can you do to basically enable people to get green cement? And what I mean by green cement is a reduction of CO2 in terms of the production of the cement, using a more circular economy. So how do you recycle what would be considered waste in one industry as an input in our industry, so that we can then also try and conserve our environment. So these are some of the things that we are doing at Bamburi to make sure that we are also aligned. And if you look at the generations that are coming, they're very environmental conscious. They are very focused on CO2 emissions. I think it's our responsibility to be at the forefront of making sure that we manage this element of production.
Does it become very technical when you're telling the cement industry that at the end of the day, again, you have to be sustainable in your business? Is it a tough balance, really, when you look at it?
Well, I mean, you look at the, for example, installed capacity of cement today compared to demand.
Yes.
It's over 100%. So when you look at what actually is installed to produce the cement and what the market can actually demand. So that gives you an idea in terms of competitiveness of how the industry is actually moving. So when it comes to sustainability, then you have to be very, very innovative in terms of how do I differentiate myself between my next competitor and myself.
Yes.
And these are some of the things that we are looking at because also you look at your impact on community. How do you work within your communities in a sustainable manner to make sure that you don't pollute, for example, you manage CO2 emissions, you give consumers cutting-edge solutions to their construction needs. And these are some of the things that I think will differentiate Bamburi going forward, in the sense that we are really, really focused on sustainability from a health and environment and climate perspective.
So we got into the coronavirus pandemic and everybody was sort of anticipating what the effects were really going to be. At Bamburi Cement, did you face it head on, or did you realize that we don't need to change any strategy because, well, we are well covered going by that performance? We saw a lot of change in other different sectors and industries as well. What would you say was your biggest shift within the coronavirus pandemic?
I think the biggest thing is really, I think in probably, if you take a year back,
yes,
March,
yes,
nobody knew how this thing was going to play out, right? So everything is new for everybody. And for us, we had to take some decisions in terms of how do we look at our market, how do we look at how we approach the market. The health of our employees is very, very important. You recognize that we have a lot of visitors coming to our plants, drivers, customers who will visit our plants. So how do you make sure that they are safe, your operators are safe, your employees are safe, and at the same time you're able to continue doing business? So that's probably the biggest shift that we had to undergo as a business, to be able to be sustainable. Obviously, you need to preserve cash because you don't know where the market will go.
Yes.
But what we've seen is the Kenyan people are very, very resilient. The economy is resilient, and if you do it right, I think there is opportunity for any manufacturer.
Still to ask you this question directly, I mean, what we've seen as from March all the way to
Yes.
end year 2020, a lot of corporates were operating within some of the measures the president did put in place just to cushion the economy from those effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. But at the start of 2021, those were reverted. Did it affect your pricing?
Yes, when as I said, you look at cement prices and they have consistently gone down.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
something very peculiar, for example, happened in the industry in January. VAT went up by 2%.
Yes.
But cement prices largely didn't go up. So this tells you the nature and the competitiveness in the sector, that the product is extremely price sensitive. Consumers are looking for the next, quality. Obviously, price is very important to them.
Yes.
And so those are some of the things that we've seen in terms of the market that we have to try and balance and manage.
You're definitely a market leader in this segment in the country,
Right.
when it comes to the way in which your cement is consumed across the country. What has really sustained you above this level?
So you could say innovation is a big thing.
Yes.
And innovation, as I said, we're talking about sustainability just a few minutes ago. You're looking at how do I, innovate to bring in the new solutions for future projects that are coming through. So when you look at our portfolio, for example, Bamburi probably makes 8 different types of cement, so probably 9.
Yes.
And all these are targeted for very, very unique sectors. Whereas when you look at what most people know about the market is, maybe 2 types of cements, right? And that ability to innovate, to provide unique solutions for different sectors is what probably sets us apart from the rest of the pack.
Yes. Going forward, what sort of outlook are you giving Bamburi Cement?
Oh, well, it's a positive outlook.
Is it pegged upon the performance of the real estate sector generally, or just within looking at the way things are going on in the company?
So you look at the market in different ways.
Yes.
So you'll recognize that there are different sort of micro markets within the larger consumption, the larger demand pool. And when you look at infrastructural projects, we are happy that the government is really trying to put those at the forefront. We recognize the impact those have on the economy in terms of putting people back to work from a pandemic and things like this.
Yes.
Then you look at what's happening in the home builder space. A lot of people are very eager to own their own homes, probably say goodbye to their landlords, if you can call it that. So you have different sectors, and they're growing in different ways.
Yes.
So we will see, I think, sustained demand probably through 2021. Of course, under current conditions,
Yes.
because we don't know what's going to happen again in April. Huh?
It's true.
But
yes.
Given what we know
Yes.
about the resilience of the market and the government's focus on making sure that construction, as you saw, it was one of the exempted if you consider it services that was exempted by government, even in the president's speech,
Yes.
then you begin to see how important and crucial the construction sector is. So very different again from maybe what you'll consider the commercial space for real estate.
Yes.
We're seeing people again moving into probably more high-end guys beginning to co-share space as opposed to trying to own space on their own. So there's different things happening in the real estate space, but also in the construction space, we are seeing probably a lot of pent-up demand coming through.
Yes. So now we do know there's a lot in terms of what is happening in the region in terms of trade.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk to you about the Africa Free Continental Trade Area, which we do know now opens a lot of opportunities for companies that are even market leaders within the economy right now to look for opportunities elsewhere. Does it stand as an opportunity to you, going by how you fulfilled the local demand now? Does it open your wings and say, well, there is a place for us here now?
First, maybe a caveat.
Yes.
Cement is a poor traveler. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
So you're not going to move cement from Kenya to sort of Congo or this sort of thing, unless it's really, really highly specialized type of cements that can be produced in the country that you're trying to serve. And that's really the nature of cement. And that's why you find that each country has its own plants and things like this, because it tends to be, it works well when you put the plant closer to the people, as opposed to trying to bring in cement from far.
Yes.
So in that regard, where probably the opportunities within the trade and for us is really, as I said, we have about 8-9 different types of cements that we manufacture, and really trying to plug in those specific needs that the market allows us to tap into. So if you're thinking about, for example, and I'll be a bit technical here, sulfate resistant cements, low heat overhydration cements, then we can offer those kinds of solutions across the East African zone. So that's really where advantages comes from in terms of sustainability, in terms of innovation, being able to tap into these markets as they develop. But if you don't have those kinds of solutions, I think it'll be difficult.
Like how you're talking about innovation, because that's exactly where the conversation point is as well when it comes to the local real estate sector, which has been blamed for sticking to what is old and really refusing to move into what is new, which is, again, one of the reasons that people would give us why we have not really hit the ceiling yet.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself within this innovation talk? And if so, what are you bound to lose or gain in that innovation conversation?
As I said, when you look at, for example, I said prices are coming down.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You as a consumer, you're looking for the lowest cost of construction possible. People are constrained in terms of how much cash they have available. So how do you offer solutions to home builders that allow them to build at the lowest cost possible, but it's not at a disadvantage to us? I think this is a question that we are all trying to answer. So we have a number of solutions for that. At Bamburi, probably you'll find we'll offer home builders an end-to-end solution in terms of Maskani. Maskani is what we call it. So this allows you as a home builder to come to us, and we do everything from design to approvals to handing you over the key, and really targeted at people who are looking at affordable housing. And in there, we help you with the full solution, because it's not just the cement itself, it's really the full spectrum that we're trying to address.
Yes.
So that's part of the innovation as well. How do we help you achieve your dream, and at the same time do it in an affordable way, and in a way that you can really be proud of the outcome. So I think innovation will continue to be in that sense, because at the end of the day, the cement will become a commodity in many ways, but how do you add value to it?
Pretty much.
Yes. That
value addition is exactly what I want you to go into a little bit deeper. Is that where you see yourself? Because then it's not going to be just about the cement if you're going to be a solution provider.
And you'll notice something very quickly.
Yes.
Our vision is actually to be the preferred solution provider within the sector. So we don't talk about cement. We talk about construction solutions.
Yes.
And that's really where our focus is. whether it's big infrastructural projects, how do we provide those solutions for them? And those solutions move anything from, as I said, someone casting a huge slab that has big impacts on heat. How do you offer them solutions to be able to do their job properly? Logistics, another thing. Projects are time bound, so you need to offer services that the developer will value. Right. So in terms of value addition, the spectrum is very, very broad.
Yes.
For what the cement players can and cannot do.
Let's go back a bit and tilt the conversation to exactly what is happening within the economy right now. And
right.
The biggest project that was touted by the national government is this affordable housing agenda,
yeah.
which, well, they're critics and both people from both ends. I don't want to be on the critics or on the other end. Let me see, did the market respond to that? And because the only way we can check it is from you saying, well, when it was announced and all those was given to the guys who want to get into it, did it affect the way in which cement consumption in the country rose?
You saw the numbers earlier on.
Yes.
So you'll see that for as long as government keeps putting affordable housing as a key agenda item,
yes,
cement consumption will keep rising. Right, and you've seen sort of in Pangani, you'll go there and you'll find that they're now allowing people to move into these affordable housing projects. They're actually doing even more. They're encouraging private sector to come and tap into this big four agenda item. So for us, when we look at that, we've had very, very interesting discussions with developers on how do we help them achieve, because the key thing here is affordable housing.
Yes.
The affordability. And that's what I was talking about in terms of how do you innovate with the developers, with your contractors, with your partners to offer them solutions that allow them to be able to provide housing to the Kenyan public at the right price point.
Lastly, as we clear this conversation, anything that we need to know about Bamburi Cement this year?
This year?
Something that is in the works?
No, that other than the fact that we continue to be very, very passionate about offering construction solutions.
Yes.
We do have solutions for customers out there, home builders. So if you're looking for the right partner, Bamburi is there for you.
Pretty much. All right. Mr. Gitonga, thank you very much for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Now, we take a short break here on a Business AM. Once we come back, your economic review this morning, the biggest headlines that you're waking up to this morning.